Well, it was a wonderful day of racing here at Ascot for Ted Van Heem's Stakes Day. The Group 2 event, it was the highlight on the program, taken out in fantastic fashion by a wonderful mare, Perfect Reflection, for Bob and Sandra Peters, William Pike in the saddle, but Mature Tier's ride was just outstanding. Brad, a pretty quiet and clean day in the stewards' room.
Only one or two minor incidents to report today, Mark. Not too much activity in the stewards' room.
Well, let's start things off now with race number 1. It, of course, was the McFarlane Plumbing Handicap over 1,600 metres, and Galaxy Sun was scratched before the barriers and has to go back to the trials now, Brad.
That's right. Of course, some problems there, obviously, for barrier tenants and also the rider, Clint Johnson-Porter, who suffered an ankle injury. So Clint Johnson-Porter will have x-rays taken to see the extent of that injury. Back to trials for Galaxy Sun after that. Jaspara disappointing, Mark, vetted out okay, but now going for a spell, and we saw Gloryland improve on its last run. Back to a senior rider today, was able to settle and finish the race off. Point somewhat disappointing, had a tendency to lay inwards in the straight.
Race number 2, Brad, was the Tab Touch Perth Cup, 31 December plate over 1,200 metres. And Brad, tell us what you saw, because the page looks to be pretty full here.
Yeah, Night Watchman, it went back in the field. It was drawn wide, unable to get in, so it got further back than expected. Slick Sam, unable to finish the race off, stepping up in distance. Will now go back to 1,000 metres at its next run, Mark. Stored Energy, a little bit unlucky in the straight, impeded and had to be taken outwards near the 125 to get clear.
Race number 3, the LWP Property Group Handicap over 2,200 metres, and the forgotten one was wide from the 600, and Black Royale was very heavily backed.
Yeah, that's right. Looking at the fluctuation there, Mark, quite a considerable fluctuation, but when we looked at the actual level of betting activity, very small, causing that fluctuation. So it was ridden forward today. Last start, it went back second up. Over an increased distance, took benefit from that run, drawn more favourably today, so was able to be ridden handier. Out of the race, our mate Al, very disappointing, raced in a flat manner, vetted out okay. We'll see how it pulls up in the next few days.
Race number 4, the Padbury Pharmacy Handicap, was over 1,100 metres, and the Travanator was slow away, and now Ben Pearce, trainer, has been advised that the gelding would require a veterinary certificate of soundness before going to the races again.
That's right, mate. This horse was withdrawn 2 starts ago when it had injury to its frog, so there's been a recurrence of that injury, Mark. Some blood there coming back into scale, so vet clearance there. Northridge blocked in the early part of the straight until getting out across heels at about the 200 metre mark. Delicate miss, just eased in the early part of the race, as did Furious Dame. Craig Staples was reprimanded for shifting in when not fully clear on Shinetti in the early part of the race, and there was a separate incident where Corporate Larrikin got some crowding back on the fence, had to steady and lose a little bit of ground in the early part.
Race number 5 was the listed Starstruck Classic over 1,600 metres, and one of the place getters there, Antique Dream, knuckled at the start, Brad.
That's right, and yeah, disappointing there for connections in knuckling. Ideal Image unable to get clear for the majority of the straight, and Silver Stream impeded till about the 250 metre mark.
On to race number 6, as we see there, Cosmic Storm winning the Starstruck. Race number 6 was the Adfield FCC Fuel Conditioner Handicap over 1,200 metres, and the rider of Secret Minx was reprimanded.
That's right. We didn't feel his actions had a material effect on the placings there, Mark. Did finish back out of the placings, but we did say to Mitchell Pateman there was a reprimand because he should be pushing at least hands and heels the final 2 strides. His mount was under pressure, as we can see there, and tiring as other runners were getting to it. Race
number 7, Brad, was the big one of the day. The Ted Van Heem Stakes 2,100 metre Group 2, a Wait for Age, and just tell us a little bit about this ride. What was said in the stewards' room afterwards?
Yeah, that's right. We've taken initial comments from Matthew Autier, and look, it was obviously planned for this horse to lead. Looking at the race there was very little exposed pace. Tradesman was going back in the field today, which was advised to the stewards. So Matthew Autier were able to take full advantage of that. His horse just travelled comfortably underneath him, never rode it along, just travelled within itself, was able to establish that type of margin, which I can't say I've seen on too many occasions on a racetrack, Mark. A horse getting out that far in front, and at the end of the day, he only failed by 3/4 of a length.
Almost got there, didn't he? Race number 8, the lucky last in the card was the Graham Colopy Handicap over 1,400 metres, and Denora, the roughie, was out in front, and we also had a bleeder there. When we were Kings, bled and will be retired, Brad.
That's right. Greg Kersley did advise me post-race that this horse would now be retired following that bleeding attack, and Denora just being checked now by the veterinary surgeon, so we'll see how this horse is pulled up.
Brad
has had a history of cardiac arrhythmia previously, Mark.
Sorry, Brad. Now, anything to come out of the race, suspensions and fines-wise?
No, just looking at William Pike's actions, may have been a gesticulation, 1 or 2 strides just before the post in the main race, Mark. We're looking at that now.
Yes, I think he'll be okay with that, Brad. But you have a job to do, of course. Thank you for joining us, Brad. And, of course, as always, the Stewards Report will be available on the Chris website soon.
That's right. Should be within half an hour, Mark.
Brad, thank you for joining us. And thank you to everybody at Ascot Racecourse for joining us on this wonderful day, Ted Van Heemst Stakes Day. Get home safely.